Hello. Yeah, this is Jungle Jargon. I'm here to discuss biology and the belief in evolution. So, if you're into biology, or if you're into evolution, or if you think you know what biology is, or if you are a biologist, you call yourself a biologist, then you need to face some of these issues in front of you. And especially evolution, which never existed at any time. No part of it ever existed. Because see, what we have is we have a given genome for everything there is. There is no swapping back and forth between genomes. We have bacteria that they're able to copy and reuse DNA, and yet they don't become anything other than bacteria. So it's not written in the genome to ever become anything else, because if anything could have evolved, it was bacteria, and bacteria haven't changed for thousands of years, or we know experimentally hundreds of years it hasn't changed at all. Okay, so the problem is that with evolution you need to have mutations, you need to have viable changes, and yet it's not mutations that cause the variation. The variations are um, a lot. There's more to variation than there is to mutation. I mean, there's a lot more changes going on by way of variation, recombination, than there is of mutation. Mutation will change one or two things at a time. Recombination changes the entire genome, changes everything you are, and in fact, it makes you a new human. But you're still a human because it's a recombination of the same information that was already there, that was already given. So mutations do not cause variations. They can cause slight changes, but they can't cause the entire genome to change. The entire genome is changed through recombination, which is a part of what's written into the genome to do, which is another problem for evolution. But basically what you have is you have a lot of information to start out with. You can never work up to anything that was never there. So the problem with evolution is that there is so much information when you consider all the different varieties of organisms and everything. There's so many different kinds of proteins, one-of-a-kind proteins that can't possibly evolve in all the different living creatures. So if there was any kind of evolution, it would have to be a top-down evolution and not a bottom-up evolution. But there's no evidence of a top-down evolution either. And of course, if you have the problem, if it's top-down evolution, you have to have a maker. And ultimately, you have to have a maker of everything there is, because of the fact that objects never do anything that works to make for an end purpose. Objects can't make a directed working mechanisms. They can't make a mind. So you have the genome that's already existing, and you have the problem of mutations not being able to create any new variations, because it's the recombination that does the variations, not mutations. So if you were to have mutations involved in the recombination, as what they're trying to prove, you would have to have multiple simultaneous changes to the genome, random changes, that were both beneficial and complementary to each other. Now, what they've discovered in the lab, they have found at times one or two beneficial, quote-unquote, beneficial changes with a whole lot of side effects usually, which is not beneficial, and it's usually a loss of information, so it's not beneficial there either. So you have all these problems with just one or two simultaneous or consecutive mutations when you need millions of them. You need millions of viable, consecutive, complementary, simultaneous and consecutive changes together. You need millions of them. Millions. And you can't even hardly get one or two without side effects. So, I mean, it's just so absurd. Evolution is so absurd. It's like the most absurd thing that anyone ever imagined. This is just a fantasy trying to get around not having been created. And if you were a true skeptic, you would really be skeptical of evolution, because it is so absurd that it's a disgrace to be taught anywhere to anybody under any circumstances. It's just a total disgrace. It's contrary to science. There is no science to support it. It's not science. It should be thrown out. Should have been thrown out a long time ago. But you have these hard-headed object credit givers that like to give all the glory to physical, natural objects instead of the maker of the programmable matter that's programmed inside of you. That's just the way it is, and if you disagree, you're wrong, and I'm sorry for your inability to face reality. That's all there is to it. Thank you.